good evening. This is obviously very new. This is Conversations with Pretoria Psychologists. Soon we'll be calling this a conversation with Well Life Inc., the mental health and wellness hub. And where the Well Life Inc. comes in is that we also expanding and launching because we realize that Pretoria Psychologists is very, very localized. I mean, when you say Pretoria Psychologists, you're talking about a location, and I see that we have expanded as a practice and we are now multi-locational. So that is why then the Well Life Inc., but also obviously trading as Pretoria Psychologists. So that I just clear the confusion, so that next time when we say Conversations with Well Life Inc., then we know that we're still talking about what we used to trade as Pretoria Psychologists. But for now, we are still Pretoria Psychologists, and welcome to my guests. And I'm hoping that you had wonderful meetings. And I think Vienna, I can see from the skinny bone that, it was a little bit handsome. So you also most welcome to chew the way that we know how to, because I think apparently they say when a chicken bone is still like that, it's not done. Like you're not done. So let's go around the table, everyone to just introduce themselves, and then I'm gonna be introducing the topic. So we're gonna start with Vuya. It's not chewing, yes. So we're gonna start on the right. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Vuyani Muleya. I'm an industrial psychologist, and I'm one of the psychologists here in the practice, and I am excited to be here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tumelo Situnane, and by profession, I'm a data analyst and a bit of programming here and there. So I'm a very logical person. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting topic tonight.
Hi guys, evening. My name is Dirintle Haufodise. I'm still a young student, aspiring to do great things in life. And I feel like I have a very broad mind on how I view things, and I don't know, this seemed like a very good idea, and I'm looking very forward to it.
Good afternoon, good evening. Letsogile. Leshapo. Okay. My name is Molly Maleti. I'm a lawyer by profession and a legal consultant, doing training in all the different government departments in all the 9 provinces. And my specialty is family law. I'm also doing marriage counseling and premarital counseling, because I really want to mend every brokenness in the marriages and families and in relationships, so that children, parents, family members may be able to take care of one another. That is who I am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Advocate Maleti, by the way, had a book with the late Dr. Kibani, which actually grew me. I think I met you when I was about 12, 13, speaking and teaching on marriage, and I held on very dearly to those teachings. And she's got a new one with
Bishop
Kuno, and so you can get hold of her to get yours. And I'm sure we also have a lot of authors around the table as well, who's gonna produce many more books. So, and I think also this platform, versus the psychoeducation, the conscientization, the awareness, it's also to promote one another, businesses. Everything that you see here was done by, professionals in the deco space that I know, the professionals in the culinary industry that I know, and those details are going to be at the end of the segment. With that said, today's topic, and this is what we're going to be tackling in the Conversations with Pretoria Psychologists, or Conversations with Well Life Inc., is topics that we often want to talk about, but we are afraid to talk about in every corner because maybe of the political correctness or we're not sure how to really approach those topics. So your so-called controversial topics, your sensitive topics, and who better to facilitate such topics than us as psychologists who can really go deep into things and delve deep into things and dig up things. So today we're starting on this launch, and I'm very, very, very excited to have all these panelists and to join me in this conversation. We're starting with when no means yes. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you when you hear me saying when no means yes?
It's very confusing, if I may say. It's not easy to tackle that one. Because I feel like I don't think I'm that young or that old. Like I'm just there where I grew up, where they told me if a lady says no, no is no. But then again, there's many different varieties too when no means yes. There's sexually, there's jobs, persistence in life. It could boil down to a lot of things. So it's a very interesting topic, I'd like to think.
I mean, as you're saying, especially with sexuality, South Africa is in a pandemic. I mean, that we cannot be in denial about in terms of GBV. So, drawing the fine line between romance and violence. So the romance of, as you say, you were taught when a lady says no, it's no. But then a lady will be like, what? When you say no, and then to Tumelo it's like it's a no, and for you it will be.
And he takes it like it's a yes, I don't mean it. And I'm gonna show him I do mean it. Tomorrow he's gonna find himself in the court of law where I said no, but you actually kept on persuading me beyond my aim and objective and intention. You understand? But you know what? Ladies can actually be very complicated, and they can complicate matters. You see that Tumelo could have thought that you meant a yes because you said no. Because it started here on the table. We're having a meal. And you said, no, I'm not hungry. When in actual fact, you see, you must check where you are and the climate and the environment, the temperature, the emotions. Because some of the ladies could say, no, I'm not hungry, but because we're in a hotel, she's afraid, hey, I'm going to be expected to pay the bill. So she decides, no, get out of this. Or it could be that she says, I'm not hungry because she's looking at the fact that, hey, this guy, what is he going to think about me if I do have to eat? You understand? So then at a later stage, when he realizes that you did not actually mean a no, that is why then when you come second time around, then there is an issue of a bedroom, then you say no. It's because you actually then let him to understand that you don't necessarily mean it at all. You understand?
That's problematic, because then it means you are left confused. And I wonder, because it looks like the conversation is also leaning to one side, to the woman either having the power or not having the power. And where is the position of power? Maybe it's also not such a good word that I want to use, but for a lack of a better way, when is a male figure then powerful in that conversation or in that interaction then?
I mean, just to touch on what the advocate said, going back to what I do. Remember, I'm a data analyst, and what we do is that if we can see that we're missing 5,000 rand or 5 million rand, we want to understand why we're missing 5 million rand and where did it go. You understand? We don't like ambiguity. So I'm trained in that sense as well. Very logical. I don't like ambiguity, and all the more reason that, especially we're talking about the climate, the context, everything good and well. But what you also need to understand is try and understand the ramifications, of, listen, if I'm trying to buy you food, you say no, and then I persist. The consequences are not that dire. However, if it's something else, I could end up in prison and destroy my whole life. So it's all about understanding the ramifications, risk mitigation, all those sorts of things. And there's this Dr. Jordan Peterson that I love so much. One of his quotes that has always stayed with me is that he once said that the more fundamental the axiom that you question, the more uncertainty you release. I personally don't understand people who like to live with uncertainty. If anything, I like to reduce uncertainty as much as I possibly can. So if you say no, it's a no. It's no big issue. Nobody lost anything. Nobody won anything. The world is not over. We can continue. We can move on, as it should be. Because now the moment you persist and try and just try and impose yourself, that's how especially if you watch footballers or sports people abroad, that's how their careers are destroyed. Because you get a young player did whatever with a woman, and the next thing they end up in court, and the woman says, no, but I said no, or you were forceful, and then your whole life is destroyed. All for what? To try be, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense for me, so, you know?
So you're talking about the ambiguity and the gray, blurred lines, and can we even know for sure?
We should know for sure, because we're not children. So I always say we're not in grade 1, or we should be old enough to say, to speak about it. And again, also, obviously everything is within reason. Life is within reason. So we're talking about the context. Can I have a dance with you? Or, the moment it starts going, should you go to the bedroom and stuff? If you say no, the very first time it should be like, okay. Because my thing is I'm somewhat incapable of thinking in the short term. My thinking is normally medium to long term. So I always like to think about risks that are associated with decisions. Hence again, the data analysis and stuff, we always try to predict things among the parameters that are given to us, do you understand? So if somebody says no to me, especially for me, because I'm knowing where you want to go, at least understanding what it is that you could lose. So, if somebody says no, that's good enough for me. So gray area and beige or other colors. So not necessary, especially given the fact that we are old. You see, if we were still in high school, that's a different situation, or primary school, but we are old now. We should not be dilly-dallying around certain things that have, again, big ramifications and stuff. So.
I like that because I'm on the other spectrum. I'm not that old. So sometimes a bit of uncertainty is what gives me the thrill of actually trying to find out what it is there. But then again, there are limits to it. You have to know what are the repercussions of your actions. If a lady, or because we live in a modern world, a male says no to a dance, it's fine. I couldn't get hurt. It was just a dance. Or she said no to a meal. Okay, I ate, she didn't. There's nothing bad there. But then again, when it comes to the bedroom, she says no. I'm still taught that it means no. I know there's a fine line between everything, I'd like to believe. So, I don't know, it depends. It all goes back to who you are as a person, how you're also raised. Because me, personally, I know that, okay, now I'm treading on that dotted line. If I take one wrong step, my future might get ruined, like you said. So, but for me, the gray areas are what's fun for now, anyway. I'm still young. Not that I'm not certain about my future, I'm not, but...
Sorry, I was going to... Yeah, it's true. You'll be young and old in that at some point. I tell young people all the time, as long as you understand that...
And you tell young people
we don't talk to young people. It's all good and well to take whatever decision you want to take, as long as you understand that there are consequences. And a consequence is nothing that you could choose. Or even if you can tell what consequence there would be, you can't even, more often than not, you can't tell the impact of the consequence. Someone might get away with the very same thing that you did. But for you, your ramifications are much bigger than what they did. You can be like, okay, but this person did the same thing. But for Wena, the consequences are 10 times multiplied. Do you understand? So it's good and well to be, again, to get the thrill and stuff like that, but you always run the risk of you could destroy your life, and that's what we see with many young people, many youngsters going to places that they shouldn't be going, and you know, and then lives are lost. Now, in hindsight, everyone is looking and everyone is crying. And I like to give the analogy of when you're in preschool or primary, you're given a book of join the dots, you know, 1, 2, and then 3, and then at the end of the day, you see an elephant, you know. So systems thinking essentially, but now everybody thinks in a reductionist approach, you know. Nobody takes into account, it's like you go out tonight, I want to drink. I don't even think about the fact that I need to drive home. Do you understand? So reductionism has its places, but reductionism is it can be very dangerous. And as long as you're willing to live with the consequences, then I'm like, oh, fair game, anything.
But like I said, you also need to know your limits, what you're working around.
Yeah. I would like to say, let us not be too hard on ourselves because I'm looking at, as my brothers are saying, and he's saying, I'm saying this to young people, and I'm wondering how young he is, how old he is. Because I'm looking at the fact that there could be some, or at some stage, you could actually find yourself saying no, but then as you grow up, you get married, you have a wife who is able to blackmail you, knowing that when you say no, this guy doesn't mean it. And there are crocodile tears there. And even after the wife, then you get children who know how to manipulate a daddy who says no. So let us not be too hard, because there are some softer issues where your wife, your spouse, your partner, your children will know how to get hold of this guy in order to personally turn his no into a yes. You understand? And as soon as they come melting down into tears before you, you just change your mind and you find yourself going to buy here something that you never even budgeted for. I'm just saying, wait for that time until you are grown up.
And with that, I actually wanted to ask, because, you know, it sounds bland. You know, and I'm wondering, where does then the romance of chasing, the romance of persuasion, the romance of hard to get, how does it fit in? And as I said, you know, it's a very fine line between that, you know, crossing the line, as you said. For me, no means no. I'm not gonna cross that line where a lady's like, no. If he's really serious, let him do the chasing. Or the guy is also thinking the same. If she's really serious, let her say hi for 3 consecutive mornings before I say hello back. Yeah. And you know, how do we then from the ambiguity that I think it even makes you anxious. That's how it sounds like, you know, that ambiguity makes you anxious. Where does that then play a role? Because then it feels bland.
I would say that sometimes it's important for people to say no. And in fact, in most situations relating to the topic of dating, pursuing each other, no means yes. In my age group, no guy around me or the people that I'm used to wants to date a lady who's easy. So no one wants a lady that if I greet her and I ask for her number, she gives me, I ask her for a date, we go same time, I say let's go to my place, she agrees, because then she's easy. And if she's easy to me, it means she's easy to other guys. So it is in that lady's best interest to actually say no to me. But when people speak, where it becomes important for us to note, when people speak, they don't only speak with words. So there are non-verbal cues that you will see. She's saying, no, I don't want to go on a date with you. But you can sense the aura and how she's speaking to you, that she's actually trying to see if you will be persistent, if you will pursue her, and if you value her. And it is important, I think, for you, male or female, to be valued by the people that you will eventually be in a relationship with.
Exactly.
And now what happens is that logic can be extended into the bedroom, which, as my brother said, then it becomes dangerous. But still in the bedroom, this must be stated. A person shouldn't say no while holding you. No, but they are holding. Okay, no, don't do it. So that's also communication. You know, But like we said, in the court of law, you might not win the case that unless if there was a camera that proved that. So it's tricky.
But then there are also things like, was the camera lawfully placed there, or were you trying to get other things, you know?
Then you might be, sued for other things you were saying.
Nkati, I always say, even though you are watching a soccer match, you don't expect this guy who is a front liner to just pick up the ball, kick it straight into the post. Just at first instance, you want him to dribble and warm up the fence and whatever. And then this is what you are saying, that even at first proposal or proposition, you don't expect me to say yes. I may be saying yes to the hug, to a kiss. And we proceed from there, we go into the lounge. If you find me with you in the lounge, does not mean I have said yes to the bedroom. If it does proceed from the lounge into the bedroom and even on top of the bed, does not mean yes to intimacy and sexual intercourse. If you find myself half naked, it is not also consent. And we have a lot of cases wherein people went through that whole trend and the whole series and sequence of events up until they went into some foreplay. But at the time, when this guy then decided to penetrate, the lady said, I said no to penetration. The fact that you find me naked in your bedroom does not mean that I've consented. And people have found themselves having been found guilty because a no at that time should mean a no.
A no.
Yeah.
I had somebody saying, and they were commenting as I was saying to them, this is the topic that we're gonna have. And he said, well, fortunately, I've not been in trouble, but I've had ladies come back to me and say, that time when we were at varsity, that time when we were at work, when we were starting off as colleagues, I wish you had persuaded me, or I wish you had pursued me. And, he's very much like you, Tumelo, where, it's like, I'm not gonna take my chances because I don't wanna end up in those instances. And we know of a case, I think Vuyani, you once quoted it on radio as well, and in several other platforms, where the person said this person was well lubricated. That is why I even penetrated, because they were well lubricated, and not understanding that the lubrication is the reaction of the body being enticed by the atmosphere, the ambience. I could be seeing candles and thinking Valentine, and then I'm, lubricated. It doesn't mean I'm consenting that anything can happen, Maybe because I've not had a romantic dinner in a very long time, and to me, it reminds me of honeymoon back in 14 years ago. I get charged and I'm thinking, and somebody else might interpret it in that way, and that emphasis of saying, and I think that's what we coming to saying the communication and openly communicating that we're not children. But also at the same time, if somebody is not emotionally intelligent, they will not be able to read those body language that you were talking about, Vian.
I think there are also, cultural anecdotes where in some cultures, as a boy child, you are kind of taught that umkakho, your wife or intombi yakho, your partner, can't say no. How are people saying, I raped my wife? So those are some of the things that we have to educate people on, that just because somebody is your wife doesn't mean you can penetrate them at will. They must still consent. So I think we also need to, as we are talking about these things, look at that, because sometimes people don't know that what they are doing is wrong because of how they were raised.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, the fundamentals of life. fundamental adage that says that treat people how you want to be treated. So in the sense that you can't rape my woman, she's my wife, blah, blah, blah. It would be the same that I don't think you'd appreciate if your wife took your credit card or whatever and just went and blew 100,000 rand or however much.
What's wrong with that? Just kidding.
You know, it wouldn't make it right in that sense. Now that she says, no, but he's my man, so I can just do whatever with the money in his bank account. Do you understand?
It's our money.
It's our money.
It's not your money.
But yeah, it all goes back to, do unto others as you would have them do to you. You see, that solves everything. It solves everything. You know, if you wouldn't want to be hit, don't hit. Period. So
actually, it's very interesting when you say it's our money, and when we come to this, you know, the double standards, because sometimes there are those double standards where I say, but even if I'm married and I'm saying no consensually, you know, I've not given that consent, and I might even want to come to the Bible actually, because that's the context that I come from, where the Bible says your body belongs to your husband as a wife, and the wife's body, vice versa. Yes. And with what is mine is yours, what is yours. So when whoever the woman is taking the card, thinking that it's mine, you know, when he goes and work, he does not work for himself. He works for the family. And you know, people even quoting such verses or such, you know, it's entrenched in the culture that you're talking about, be it the Afrocentric or biblical or Christian or, you know, Islam, where you think that just because, and others will even quote, ngiyakhiphila malobola, you know, like I bought this person is sort of my property. And maybe just some
misunderstanding that would actually start from the fact that when I say yes to your request, proposal for love, I automatically say yes to intimacy. No, that is serious misunderstanding, because you could be thinking that I am saying yes to love, but I'm thinking that love goes with dating, going out, visiting friends, movie, and whatever. But my mind is not on this one. Therefore, the fact that when you are thinking that as long as I have said yes today, then we are going into bed, that is, and thank you for also even coming up with a spiritual issue, because this one is into courtship, but this one is into intimacy. They don't meet as hlangani, adikopani dilo tseo. So let us teach our brothers that saying yes to love does not always mean yes to intimacy or to sexual intercourse. And let us take each other as we are growing into this love, educating each other to say, this is my understanding, this is your understanding. Where do we meet each other halfway? And when you need to understand, when I say no, I mean this.
I really like that, that there has to be a deliberate learning and unlearning of whether it was coming from a spiritual or cultural background. As I get exposure to new information, then I must discontinue certain things that I used to do in the past. And on the other side also, you know, ladies must also learn that just because it's your partner or it's your husband doesn't mean you're entitled to his money. Yeah. In the same way that, you know.
Yeah, because we could be married out of community of property. You understand? So it doesn't give you any title to use my money for as long as we are still married. Because one of the days you're going to be indulging me into liabilities that I never intended to be in. And therefore we should understand, for as long as we are still in this kind of a marriage which is out of community of property, don't touch my things.
Those are my things. My body is mine.
Yeah, so that I don't go out of this marriage with liabilities, then I have to pay them before we get divorced.
But I feel like it all goes back to you as a person and how you understand everything. When it comes to no can mean yes, you must understand that, I don't know how to properly put it in a sentence, but understand that another person does not think the same as you. They don't feel the same things as you. They weren't raised the same way as you. But still, like, we need to come to an understanding of when that no actually means no. So I feel like there are points where yes, no can mean yes, it's fine. I must court that lady, or that job said no, so I'm going to apply again until they say yes, or you get what I'm saying? There's many other things other than relationships when no can mean yes. But we have to understand that once you pass a certain point, it can affect the rest of your life legally. So it can impact your family, your friends, your loved ones. The list goes on and on and on. We don't act alone in this life, and we never have. So I feel like we just need to learn to understand each other better.
And I think it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of communicating, but communicating in a certain way. I think people think that when they are using words, they are communicating, but there's more to communication. And when you're cutting short.
Yeah, like you said, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of, for me as well, it takes a lot of commitment with respect to self-development, in the sense of you have to be disciplined. Discipline must not be that thing that you feel like doing it. You have to be disciplined so that, again, if just because in a relationship does not mean that we need to have sex, it takes discipline to be that kind of person, boy or girl, so that you don't even go out and then you start causing other problems and then a whole lot of lives are destroyed. So yeah, it all goes to everything is in life is within reason, and you have to be very disciplined so that you don't find yourself in situations that you shouldn't be. So yeah, those are my parting words, that we have to be very, very intentional with respect to the decisions that we make, with respect to how we want our futures to turn out.
Nkati, I'm thinking of a situation where, in terms of our Black cultures, young women were not even allowed or expected to say no. Where even if they would say no, it would not matter. Ukuthwala, kushobedisa. You understand? Where they would just be abducted, and from there, yes,
Violent, so
yes,
with your family's consent,
yes,
but not your individual consent.
you understand? And they are forced into these marriages, and it is still happening right now. Where even if this woman would scream out and no, nobody would listen to her. And the next thing, you would find them having been impregnated by somebody, and this person says now, I am prepared to marry her. But this child can't even give consent to what is happening right now. So it has all been imposed against her will. There is rape. She never got an opportunity even to say no. So it is all abuse. If only we would go into our customary backgrounds and cultures and families and educate people to say a woman, a young girl, has got a right to say no. And should you penetrate her, that is sexual abuse, and that is an offense, and there must be consequences. You understand? So that we educate even people in the tribal authorities to say such things should not take place anymore. And these children must know their rights and be able to assert them in the court of law.
I would also just close by saying we have to pay attention to elements of our cultures, our religions, and even our social spaces that could land us in hot water, but that are actually, whether they land us in hot water or not, that are actually not fair to the other person, or dehumanizing, or not treating the other person fairly. Just as a basic principle, as my brother said, treat people as you would like to be treated, so that you try to communicate with the person, you try to understand them. Didn't mention that we are different, so you have to try to understand that person's reality, so that when you are negotiating whatever you are negotiating with them, you are not doing it from your lens only.
Yeah, And also to understand that we don't have to be together. I tell people all the time, we don't have to be together. If you and I have reached an impasse, for whatever reason, it's okay. It's literally okay. We don't have to be together. Let us not force anything. Guys, let's not do it. What are we doing?
I can see you. Can you try again? What did I do? I'm sorry.
It's not working.
You know, like, yeah. So, exactly. Thank you so much. This was, it was fascinating to hear these different ideas around this, and we swing from one, pendulum to another, the romantic part and the very violent part. And I think it's hardly an art to be an artist to actually combine these two, and not to say that these two they match somewhere, but to unpack it to say when does it become violent and when does it become romance? Like as we say, when a person can be seen as being easy, but then you read the body language, and that's also with the personal development. So thank you very much for the interesting conversation, and to the audiences out there, we'll be back next month. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, our topic for next month is beauty and brain. Yes, I think that's what it is. Beauty and brain. We'll be looking at things like bimbofied, slay girl era, slay queen, versus the brains, and using that versus using the beauty to get around the world, because we all navigate the world differently to get where we want to get. And so see you next time. Stay tuned. This is Conversations with Pretoria Psychologists.